Good morning. This is lecture number 3 for the consecutive techniques and criminal terminology class. As discussed last week, we're going to be doing some more consecutive techniques, kind of a review, a general review. But we really need to spend a little bit more time today in this lecture number 3 on other things that are also important to this course. And number 1, some vocabulary. We're going to look at the material in the lectures 1, 2, and 3 in your class manual, discuss some terms and so on and so forth. And then I would like, it's been quite some time since you have used the simultaneous mode. I don't want you to forget because the next course is pretty heavy on simultaneous. So we will be doing some simultaneous practices today, although this is a consecutive course, but it is part of the kind of the strategy that I have for you so that when you start the next course, which begins on September 17th, you are at least have sufficient practice. So we're going to do some practice now and even a little bit next week as well. So in terms of the techniques, the consecutive techniques, we're going to do a general review. We're going to do that at the very beginning. I know that there was lecture number 2 up until this morning. It was not working. It was not processing correctly, but we have already processed that. Just going to make sure that we had to do a lot of work to get this, to recover this lecture. So it is done now. So you can watch lecture number 2. We go to week number 2 and you can watch it. Don't be concerned if you have not watched it yet, because what we'll do today is just a general review. We're not going to be adding anything new to the technique. We will do that next week, however. So it's kind of an opportunity for us to catch up with the legal terminology, the material that it is under lectures 1, 2, and 3, and also to give you the opportunity to kind of get back into that simultaneous mode. Now, next week, which is week number 4, we will be doing some more techniques, and we're going to kind of put it together and do an actual consecutive. And we're going to be looking at, what is the how to use this technique based on the question. What are the other options besides this technique? So there is going to be a pretty interesting lecture next week. I believe somebody told me that it was a holiday. The weekend is a holiday, but I'm teaching. So if you cannot make it to class, it's okay. You can watch it later on. But I do want you to make sure you watch that lecture, which is number 4. Now, some more good news for you. This class does not come with an oral final examination. So that means that you don't have to schedule your oral final. In fact, if you press schedule final oral on your menu there, it's going to tell you that this class doesn't come with a final examination oral. But it does come with a final examination written, which will be based on the material in the lectures 1, 2, 3, and 4 from your class manual. And because of that, the question is, when are you going to be taking that written exam? When would it be available for you? Well, the next course, which is the misdemeanor course, a really good course. It will take, it's a really pretty demanding course. Begins on September 17th. You will have, and from next week, which is September 10th, until September 12th. So from the 10th to the, wait a minute, I made a mistake there. From September 3rd, which is next week, until September 12th, you'll be able to take your final examination written. In other words, when we finish lecture number 4, you will see in your on the menu there, take written exam, and when you click on it, you'll be able to take the written exam. The grade for this class is solely based on that written exam. So most people get an A in this class, honestly. So there's less pressure there. But keep in mind that the next class, which is lecture number 4, will be on September 3rd. You can, if you want, take the final examination on September 10th as a schedule, but you can do it during the week if you like. You have until September 12th to complete that final examination written. and it will be uploaded on September 3rd. So you can do it this week, obviously. And then after that, you just basically start the next course on September 17th. So that's kind of the plan that we, the logistics of all this. Now, the let's talk a little bit about how to use these techniques, and then also try to put it all together in terms of the program and where you are at and where you're heading, and so on and so forth. So you develop this technique now. We're developing it now, and next week we're going to kind of finalize with it, and then look at implement it in an actual consecutive with questions and answers instead of just segments. And we're going to look at, we call this technique a tool that you can use, but there will be other tools available to you that I will discuss next week, which are pretty basic, but you will be able to determine based on the question, you will be able to determine with some good accuracy as to what of those tools you should use for the answer. So you hear a question and the question already tells you, okay, this answer may require this tool. This is one of the tools that what we have been learning is the main tool. But there might be other ones such as no notes, other ones such as short-term memory, other ones such as basic note-taking, one word below the other, other ones such as factual information. All that will be explained to you next week. And then once I explain that, then we'll do an actual consecutive. Now, despite the fact that you develop the technique in this particular course, you're not going to be using it as much until the preparation for the state exam, which is the last course. But you will have access to different type of consecutives. In fact, you do have some consecutive. I will let you know next week which ones they are. But you will have access to the consecutives and to practice these techniques, these tools. However, the real important one is the application of these techniques to the last course, because that's where we develop the strategy to take the exam, the state examination. So we want to first find out how are you going to be graded when you take your consecutive component. And knowing how you're going to be graded, then we're going to develop that strategy around the grading format or standard. And in developing the strategy, we assume that this material, you already have this technique under your belt. So because there's going to be about 3 months now that you're not going to be using this technique, you will eventually, maybe even more actually, you will eventually have to come back and review it. So make sure you have really good notes from this class. That's my advice. So that way it gives you the ability to review that periodically. Every quarter you should review these notes. That's this technique that we are developing. So having said that, and then of course in the next course, it's really the course where you become an interpreter. It's really demanding course, the misdemeanor course, interpreting in superior court misdemeanors. It's a very demanding course. It's going to require a lot of time. Okay, so I just want to warn you of that. And it is demanding because we're going to be learning all the different structures, everything that the judges use in court. And we will know them in English, we will know them in Spanish, we will, you will be in pretty good shape, hopefully. And you will then have to interpret. So it's a lot of really, really good stuff coming your way in the next course. In fact, the next 2 courses are critical. That's where you become an interpreter, really, to work in the court system. So having said that, why don't we look at kind of a general review of the technique before we dwell into the criminal terminology and the material that corresponds to lecture 1, 2, and 3, which will be kind of heavy, honestly, because it's a lot of material we're going to cover. So we're going to kind of mix it up with some practices in simultaneous. And then that's what this class will be all about. So I'm going to spend maybe 30 minutes, 40 minutes on a review of the technique, on some examples. You'll be able to use those as well. And then, then we'll get into this, It's just so see this class kind of changes from all these techniques that we're learning. They're so exciting every week. You're learning something new. To now kind of a general review, maybe a couple of practices, and then get into don't forget simultaneous, and don't forget the class material. And the reason why the class material, we're going to spend a lot of time on it today, is because that class material is essential for the next course, which is the misdemeanor course. So if you don't know your criminal terminology, so remember this class is consecutive techniques and criminal terminology. So if you don't know that criminal terminology by the time you start the next course, you're going to find yourself at a disadvantage. And the ideal scenario is that you know your legal terms fairly well so that you can concentrate only on the structure. See, in the next course, you're going to learn not single words, but the whole phrase. Similar to what you learned in the first course, where there was a phrase such as, counsel, do you waive further reading of the complaint, statement of rights, and enter a not guilty plea? You memorize that as a phrase. Well, here you're going to be memorizing about 117 phrases that are all distributed throughout all the different criminal proceedings out there. And those phrases are repeated in many different proceedings. So for you to understand the phrase and to memorize the phrase, you have to know the elements of that phrase. And the elements of that phrase happens to be the terminology that was in the simultaneous course, the legal terminology that is, and now that it is also in this course. Question. So the written test in this course is also based on translating. Yeah, it's all translating, written translation. So the written test, of course, is translating, and it's based on lectures 1, 2, 3, and 4. I'm not going to ask you anything about the technique. There's no question about technique because there is no point in actually asking you about technique that it's in the process of being developed. That wouldn't be fair, honestly. Does this mean that we will not meet for the 5th week? That is correct, Naila. That's exactly correct. So what's going to happen is that we're going to have class today and next week, which is September 3rd. And September 10th is reserved for you to go to the site and take the written test. But because we're going to upload that on September 3rd at the end of the class here, you can go to the site and take that exam anytime, and therefore on September 10th, that Saturday, you can take it completely off if you want to. So let me just kind of put it here in writing so that it is clear. Okay. So I don't know if we had this system last week, but we have made some improvements to this. So today, okay, so September 3rd will be our lecture 4. And that's our last lecture, really. But then from September 3rd, after 2 p.m. until September 12th, midnight, you may access the course site and take the written exam. I'm going to put here no oral exam, for this course. Now that written exam, it's going to be based on, specifically it's going to be based on the materials under lectures 1, 2, 3, and 4. So what will happen then is that let's say next week, September 3rd, you finish, you say, I really want to have a good, I don't want to come and take the exam on the 10th on a Saturday. I just want to go to the beach if you want to. I want to go somewhere. I don't know. Just I want to sleep. That's all. So then on September 3rd or the 4th or the 5th or the 6th, it's 24/7. You just go to the site, take the written exam, and that's the end of it. As long as you complete it before September 12th midnight, we're fine. You're gonna get your report card on the 14th. That's the Thursday, or 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. It's just the 12th, I believe it's a Monday. So you're going to get the report card on the 14th, which is a Wednesday. And then once you get that report card, you will proceed to register for the next course, which begins on September 18th, 2 weeks from the 3rd. Is that clear? I hope it is. But the good news about this course is that there certainly is not any oral examination, and people kind of welcome that, so that there's not much pressure. This course, if you look at it, it's kind of, you learn a lot of stuff, and it's kind of fun because there's very little pressure. The main pressure, of course, is for you to study the terms on your own, and that's why today we want to go. I mean, I hate to assign all these terms without actually going over them and explaining further. So that's why we're going to be taking most of the time today to do that. So, but before we do that, let's just look at some kind of a abbreviation. Now, the next class begins the 17th, I believe it is a Saturday. So it's on the same day of the week, the 17th, a Saturday, and it begins at 11 a.m. There is no change. You can go to interpreting.com and look at class schedule. This will be the class schedule for the fall quarter. So you click on class schedule, and then you can go to the fall quarter. In fact, let me see if I can get that for you, just to be on the safe side. I don't want to give you incorrect data. So here you have the class schedule. So you scroll up. This is summer, so we're done with this. But the fall quarter, that begins in September, so you click there. And when you look at this now, the next course, which is the misdemeanor course, begins on the 17th, okay, at 11 a.m. And please note that it ends on October 15th. And the next course begins, just for you to kind of plan, it begins like almost a month later on November 12th. And that's because I'll be out of the country from the 15th. It's disconnected. So I'll be out of the country from the 15th until November 2nd or 3rd. So you can see that you're going to have a really long break in the month of October. And it works to your advantage, because you will see when you take the misdemeanor course that it's so much material that 4 weeks may not be sufficient. So you will have 4 weeks plus maybe another 4 weeks or so break. So if you will continue having access to the site, and therefore you will be able to catch up. So it really works very well for you. It wasn't done purposely for you. It's just that I'm going to be out of the country. But I'm saying that it works out very well for you because of the class that you are taking. See, it wouldn't make any difference if we were taking this class and then you have to wait 4 weeks. It wouldn't make much of a difference. But in the case of completing the misdemeanor course and having 4 weeks before the felony starts, it's just wonderful. You'll see that. Could I enroll in 2 different classes at the same time? Yeah, after you complete the consecutive techniques, you may enroll in 2 different classes at the same time, but it will have to be maybe misdemeanor and site translation. You cannot enroll in misdemeanor and felony, because for the felony, you have to have the prerequisite is that you have completed misdemeanor. But for site translation, the prerequisite is this course. See? So see, for the next course, misdemeanor, the prerequisite is completing this course successfully. And for the site translation for court interpreters, English into Spanish, the prerequisite is also this course. So some people do take the misdemeanor course with the site translation English into Spanish together, just to speed up the process. So, they will be attending from 8 to 11 and then 11 to 2. And then they take felony course and then the Spanish into English. Then that way they have already saved one whole quarter, 3 months. So they're going to finish 3 months earlier. So for those of you where time is an issue, you want to finish right away, on the 17th, you may want to take the misdemeanor, and you can also take the site translation from English into Spanish, both at the same time. That doesn't mean that they're offered at the same time, but both in the same quarter. And if you then take the felony course, which in this case is on November 12th, and then the Spanish into English, which is also November 12th. Then what happens is that by December 10th, you would have, the only thing you need to take is the preparation for the court interpreter exam, which will be offered in January and which will end in March. And usually the state exam is in March. You could take simultaneous technique and misdemeanor, but I believe that you have already taken it. And if you haven't, then you could. Yes, absolutely. So those are different, different people. They look at when is the next exam going to be offered, and they realize that it might be off. We don't know yet, but traditionally it was offered in March. So they try to make sure that they take this last course, the preparation, in January. The only way you can take this preparation course in January is if now you take in the next quarter, you take two courses every single 5-week period. So you'll take misdemeanor and English into Spanish side, and then felonies and Spanish into English side. So you do get a certificate of completion when you complete the whole program. Absolutely. You do get a certificate of completion once you finish with the whole program. All right. So if there are no questions, then let's just, what is this? Let me just close it. So let's just look at our technique. So if we take a class every 5 weeks, when does the program end? The class, if you're taking if you're taking one class per quarter, in this case, you will end sometime in May, June. If you want to speed it up and end it in March, then next quarter you're going to need to take two courses at the same time. It's really up to you. There is no rule on that. So going back to our technique, we look at last week, lots of interesting things. For example, we look at using symbols to indicate location, the boundaries and all that. We look at those apps where two of the different columns or domains kind of interacted. We also look at when there was an interaction by just using a verb, not by anything else. If we fail a course, do we need to start all over? No. If you fail a course, Paulina, you just take that course again. You may need to wait 3 months because that course is not offered every other month. But no, you don't have to retake the whole program. No. So going back to the technique, so we look at things such as, for example, so here it says John and whatever you wanted to say, and then let's say and here Mary, and whatever. It could be anything, right? But then when we link these two, we would say, for example, John asked Mary if whatever she asked, you ask Mary and you close it. That was our app. So it would be John asked Mary, how you feeling today? And then this ends the app. And then, for example, you say Mary replied that she wasn't feeling well, and then you ended the app. We did that last week. We also had a situation where we wanted to say John hit Mary. That would be it. That's when there is a relationship between two columns or two domains, and the relationship is only dependent on the verb. There was nothing else. So you could say, for example, married, punch John. If you want to say in the face, then you have to put face and close it here. But if you want to say Mary punch John, then all you got to do is this, because it means I start the app and I end it, and the only thing that I want to put there is actually the verb. So that's something that we were doing in terms of this technique. And it was just something new that we introduced. Also, we look at this last week. We look at, how to use descriptions, and you will say, for example, black eyes, a scar on the right side of the face, a goatee here. So you may want to put it like this if you want to, and let's say brown hair. So this circle, in a way, was it's this, right? And this is the right cheekbone. Always think of this being the right, and this is the left. So this is the right cheekbone, which is where the scar is located. So kind of. This is going to be the left. These are the lips. This is the goatee. Um, and that's how what we learned that we could incorporate at this. For example, if I want to say John told Mary that Albert was someone who had black hair, black eyes, and he had a goatee, you may want to do something like that. That's it. So then this was incorporated to reduce the number of notes. So you'll say, John told Mary that Albert has black hair, black eyes, and he has a goatee. And then you close the app, of course. And then you can maybe say, so, and Mary indicated that Mary, okay, another Mary, let's put another one, that Alice was 24 years of age and she had blonde hair with green eyes. And then you close it. So you can see here the interaction between these two. So here's the beginning of the app. The I is the verb, so indicated, right? So Mary indicated to John that Alice is 24 years of age, who has blonde hair and green eyes. So this is kind of what we have been learning. Now we also look at a situation. If this is, again, we're going to rewrite the domains, John, and then you have here Mary. We also look at the situation where you say, for example, John was waiting outside the 7-Eleven store when Mary walked in through the main door at 3:10 p.m. So we look at that situation as well, instead of actually writing that much. So what we decided to do is basically use this boundary symbols that work so well. So that's most important, and we should never forget that zero column, which is it works as follows. It says, for example, on September 6, 2021, at approximately 3 p.m., John walked out of the 7-Eleven store with a gun. Okay, for example. So that's our zero column, which basically all it did, it just allows us to put this information in a place, in a column, before you could, here, if you look at it, it starts with on September 6, 2021. So you're asking yourself, where do I put this? Is it under John or Mary? I don't know. So that's why you put it in, you dump that into the zero column. So on September 6, 2021 at approximately 3 p.m., and eventually there's going to be a name or something, right? So in this case, it says John walked out of the 7-Eleven store through the main door with a gun. Okay. So that's kind of in a nutshell the whole technique, if you look at it, of what we have learned. We will be learning a few more things, and I might even give you a couple more things today so that next week we just only spent our whole time on applying the technique. So I might give you some more. But before I move forward, is there any questions? The whole program is about 12 months total. It is 12 months if you take one course at a time, yes. You can speed it up to 9 months if you take two courses at the same time. And the only time you can take two courses at the same time is now, by taking the next course, misdemeanor with site from English into Spanish, and then felony with the site from Spanish into English. So having said that, any questions on this material? Is that clear? Should we do a practice? I think we should do a practice, so we'll get a feeling of you get a feeling, you get the opportunity to kind of apply all this. So let's do the practice, and I'm going to be taking notes at the same time. All right. So let's see. Are we ready? Take notes, please. Here we go. John was inside the hospital at 3 p.m. when Albert walked in through into the hospital through the main door with a knife. John belongs to the 18th Street gang, and Albert belongs to the 25th Street gang. Uh, Albert went to the back of the hospital where the ER is located, looking for Peter. Peter is 24 years old, and he belongs to the 18th Street gang. Okay, so let's keep going. Albert stabbed Peter in the back. John went to the back of the hospital where the ER is located. John asked Albert, what are you doing? Albert replied, he deserves it. All right, can you say it back, please? Can you say it back? This is really good stuff.